Class of 23, earlier you heard from our current student government president, Denise Rodriguez, and you see the 4 year of transformation. You can see yourself just like her 4 years from now. We have someone special for you to talk to you, speak to you, share his experiences with you. He was also a student government president during his time. Mr. Brian Hamilton from class of 87, the former member of Sacred Heart Board of Trustees and the recipient of last spring's honorary doctorate from Sacred Heart. After graduating from Sacred Heart, Brian earned his MBA from Duke University, and after some years of professional experience, he co-founded SageWorks, the country's first fintech and the largest provider of software to US banks. Brian is a frequent guest on CNBC and Fox Business Channel. In addition, true to shoe spirit, Brian formed a nonprofit called Inmates to Entrepreneurs, a national program that helped former inmates to start their own small businesses. In addition, Brian Hamilton Foundation provides access to entrepreneurship to those in need. Brian has served on SHU Board of Trustees and have taken time to speak to our students from time to time about entrepreneurship. In addition, the Sheila Hamilton Student Success Center and the Maureen Hamilton Wellness Center, both of which are central to success of all our students, they have been able to expand their services to the students because of the generosity of Brian Hamilton. Brian?
Okay. I have to follow Dr. Patillo in that wonderful choir, so that's tough, but I'll try it. It's great to be here, guys. I did graduate from here back in 1833. No, it was actually 1987. But, when I talk, I really only accept invitations when I can actually offer content and value. I'm going to overlap a little bit with some of the words that Dr. Patillo mentioned, as well as Denise. Great job, by the way. She and I had lunch today. That was really nice. But seriously, I'm going to give you some perspective as a former student, as someone who's been a business person. I built a business. And I'll tell you a Sacred Heart specific story. We talked about the happiest university. I didn't know that, but I'm happy that I'm here. But I'll tell you a story about my experience here, one story in particular. One of the professors here, Dr. Kokoski, I didn't know him real well at the time. I was president of student government, presidential intern. I helped found the debate society, all this great leadership stuff. I didn't know Dr. Kokoski well, but I knew him well enough, and he, I guess, a little bit of engagement for the 4 years. And I remember walking through the quad, which I think it's still a quad. There's other stuff there, but it's kind of still a quad. And I was walking through the quad my senior year. I'll never forget this. It didn't make much impact then, but through the years it made a huge impact. And that's going to happen to you at this university, I can guarantee it. But anyway, at the time, I say I had a chip on my shoulder. I think that's a nice way of saying I was a bit of a snob. I thought I was real high on myself. I thought I had everything down. And even though I was a student leader and people kind of liked me, that sort of stuff. But Dr. Kokoski sensed something in me. He came up to me in the quad. Again, someone I don't really know. The best advice you ever get is not when someone's sort of yelling at you, but there's sort of just these gentle asides. And Dr. Kokoski said to me, he said, "Hey, Brian, I've noticed you've done a lot of great leadership stuff here. And I think you've got some potential. But remember, if you're ever going to lead anybody, you have to love them. If you ever want to lead somebody, you've got to actually like them." And at the time, my 22-year-old arrogant self, was like, okay, sounds good to me. I like sort of like, but it got in my head. It just went around for years, and he was absolutely right. So that's the first thing I'm going to leave with you, just about leadership. I have an MBA. I did a lot of math stuff here too, but they don't teach leadership enough. If you're going to lead people, if you're going to be around people, if you're with your classmates, you got to like them, you got to love them. And at that time in my life and my journey, it's not true for anybody here, a little bit arrogant. I liked people, but I hadn't really grown, which is going to go into my next point. And Dr. Kokoski mentioned that to me. And I've been around lots of corporations, lots of leaders, presidents of universities, CEOs of companies, but the best leaders like their people. You got to like people. You think about politicians, you go into politics, right? This is people. You don't like people, you're in the wrong business, right? What are you doing? So it's true of life too. You got to like people. If you like people, they will sense that. When I ran SageWorks, I wasn't always pleasant. I was one of those typical tech entrepreneurs. I'm very driven and all that, but I think people sense that I liked them, especially as I grew in my spiritual journey, and you can get a lot out of people. Now, that's the second point I'm going to mention to you. I'm going to keep this light because I don't want to preach to you. I want to give you something that I think will be of value to you. College is an intellectual endeavor. There's no question about that. You're here to learn. You're here to critically learn. You're here to analyze. By the way, hopefully you'll synthesize too, which is not breaking things apart, but bringing things together. But it is also a spiritual journey. I was talking to John during lunch, and Ryan and Nina, and I mentioned that one of the greatest things that happened to me at this university was I began my spiritual journey. And I can't tell you how important that is, because your intellectual pursuits are important today. They're important long run. Your career, important today. Sort of important long run. But your spiritual journey is what's going to carry you through the hard times. And I got to tell you, it's not a commencement address again. It's going to be short. But there are going to be times that things are difficult for you. So begin your spiritual journey here, whatever that is. Intellectual, no question. But spiritual, absolutely vital. You took away my steam on this point, but I'm gonna go back to it a little bit. The next thing, it's so hokey, I know that. I have a 26-year-old and a 23-year-old. I bore them all the time. I'm gonna bore you a little bit. Be kind to one another. Be kind. I can't tell you how important that is. As I've gotten older, everybody I meet is more fragile than they seem to be. Right, we put on a front, right? We want to put on a front that we're confident, we have a great life. We're on Facebook, which I don't use Facebook and Instagram, although they tell me I'm on there somewhere, but I don't use it. But we post how happy we are and everything's going wonderful. Remember, at 18, it feels like it was 100 years ago, it really does. But at 18, everyone around you is fragile. So be kind to one another. I think that's a great point that you made, John. Really, be kind to one another. I know it sounds so hokey and boring, but it's true. By the way, I'm gonna do a little shout out for the parents. Okay, there's no parents here, so I can do this. Be kind to your parents too. Really, remember that they've had to grow, that they've had to learn. When I was younger, I expected them to be perfect. They're not going to be perfect. They're growing too. It's amazing. I have two sons. The power of a simple text when they text me, hey, Dad, I appreciate this or that or whatever. Dad, you did something right. Here's an example, an email. Once in a while I did something right. It's amazing the power of that. So for all the freshmen here, right? You're away from school a day, a week, or whatever. Text your mom and dad once in a while. Hey, Dad, I love you. Hey, Mom, I love you. It's amazing. I know it sounds so simple, but it will make all the difference in their world. So I do have to do a shout out to the parents. I have to do that. I guess the last thing I'm going to leave you with, I want to keep it tight so that you can actually go on and enjoy your day, is, and I'm going to get this wrong. I'm going to really mess this one up, but I'm going to try. I'm just going to try. I went to Sacred Heart University. I started here in 1981, and I never realized this until I went to another school called Duke. That's in North Carolina for the northern folks here. I'm from Connecticut, but Duke University, I went there and got my MBA. What I love about this university, and Dr. Patillo, nobody coaches me what to say. This is for me, like you, I was sitting there. But what I love about this university, unlike Duke, I'm glad they accepted me, okay? But unlike Duke, unlike Yale, or those types of schools, Sacred Heart is an excellent university, but it's growing. You're part of a mission almost like the country, right? We want to be getting better, and we're striving. Denise, you mentioned you're a first-time college graduate in your family. Some other people are like that too. We're striving, we're trying to get better. Just like America, we're trying to get better all the time. We're striving. It's systemic, and it's central to the immigrant vision of this country to get better. And at Sacred Heart, it's all around you. Doesn't mean it's not at other schools, but it's a big part of it. Every time I come here, you're right, John, it's not just the buildings. It's the culture, the way people treat each other, the initiatives to do other things for the students. We're always getting better, and that dial's not moving a little bit. But this is what I would leave with you. Denise mentioned it. Dr. Patil mentioned. I'm going to bring it home a little bit here. Get involved. Do you see what I'm saying? You're part of building something that's bigger than you. Really, you can make an impact here. You can absolutely make an impact. You chose the right school because this school is an excellent school. And by the way, we've done incredible things over the last 30 years, right? But we're getting better, and you can be part of that right now. And I feel, where's Dr. Rose? I feel like when I came here, that I was part of the journey to make this school better. I felt like the professors were that way. And you can do it as well. So God bless, good luck, and go Pioneers.